Today we are going through part 2 of the Epsom College specimen paper which we started yesterday, so let's jump straight into it and we're starting with question 9. Here is a list of numbers 17, 24, 25, 26, 35, 43, 44. From the numbers in the list, write down the odd number that is larger than 40. Well, if we look at the numbers bigger than 40, we've only got 43 and 44. The only odd one among those is 43, as it ends in a 3. Anything ending in 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9 is odd. The number that is a multiple of 7, this has to be in the 7 times table. In this case, 35 fits that description because 7 times 5 is 35. The two numbers that have a difference of 20. Well, if we start with 17, we don't have 37 further up. Then if we move on to 24, then 44 is there, and that works. So 24 and 44 are the pair that work. A prime number is a number that only has two factors, 1 and itself. So you can't divide the number by any other factor. In this case, we have two options for prime numbers. One is 17 and one is 43. So we could write 17 as it says a prime number, so we don't need to write 17 and 43. But let's discuss why the others are not prime. 24 is not prime because it has lots of factors like 1, 24, 2, 12, 3, 8, 4, 6. 25 has more factors. Aside from just 1 and 25, it's also got 5 as the square root. 26 also has other factors such as 13 and 2. 35 can be made by multiplying 5 and 7. And 44 can be made by multiplying 2 and 22, 4 and 11, i.e. the ones I just mentioned, aside from 17 and 43, are not prime, but 17 and 43 are prime because aside from 1 in itself, there aren't any other numbers that we can divide it by. Question 10, what number must fit into each box to make these calculations correct? So we're starting with 27. We need to add something to get to 91. Well, just before 91, if we find a number ending in 7, we've got 87. So from 27 to 87 would be 60. And then we've got another 4 to get from 87 to 91. So we've got to add 64. So the number, therefore, is positive 64 that we have added. Next, we've got 58 on the left and 39 on the right. Well, 58 is bigger than 39, so we need to do some taking away. If this was 59, and we needed to get to 39, we'd have to take away 20. But since this is 58, we don't need to take away as much. We can take 1 less, so we can take away 19. And 58 take away 19 gives us 39. So the number in the box is minus 19. Next, we're doing 364 divided by 7. So 364 divided by 7. 7 times 5 is 35. Extra 1. 7 times 2 is 14. And therefore, we've got 52 times 7. This is actually the number of weeks in a year, and it makes sense because we've got 52 weeks in a year where there are 7 days in a week and just over 364 days in a year. Lastly, for question 10, we've got 161 on the left and 23 on the right. Well, if 161 is positive and on the left and 23 is on the right, we need to subtract some number. If this was 163 and we needed to get to 23, we'd have to take away 140. But as this is 161, we only need to take away 138 instead. So that's minus 138 in the box. 11. Write these numbers in order of size. Start with the smallest. 0.56, 0.067. That's got 0 tenths. This had 5 tenths, so far this is smaller. 0.6, that's obviously bigger than the second option we had. 0.65 is even bigger, and 0.605 is still bigger than 0.067 because in the first column after the decimal place, this option has a 0, none of the others do. And so we're going to say 0.067 first. Then let's look at the rest of these. 0.5 for the tenths, 0.6, 0.6, 0.6, which means 0.56 is next. The remaining ones are 0.6, 0.65, and 0.605. These all have 6 tenths, so that means we need to move on to the hundredths. With 0.6, it's the same as saying 0.60, because we're just saying we've got 0 hundredths in that case. So that can compete with this number. But this one also has 5 thousandths, which 0.6 does not. So 0.6 is therefore next. Immediately followed, of course, by 0.605. And lastly, we have 0.65 because after those 6/10ths, we've got 5 hundredths. Now, these 5 hundredths are 10 times as big as these 5 thousandths. So it doesn't matter that this number looks longer, this number is worth more. So we've got 0.65 over here. Of course, the only reason I had to go off the line is because I'm writing in thick pen. Hopefully yours should fit. Again, we're putting these in order of size. So we've got half, 2/3, 2/5, 3/4. So we can think of these as percentages. We can think of half as 50%. 2/3 is like 66.6% approximately. 2/5 is 40%. And 3/4 is 75%. So if we now organize them, 40% is the smallest, which is 2/5. That's followed by 50%, which is a half. Then after that, we've got the 2/3, which is a bit more than a half, but not as much as 3/4, which is 75%. There's another way of doing this, which is to put everything over a common denominator. So you'll see that the denominators here are 2, 3, 5, and 4. So we could convert everything as fractions out of a common denominator of 60, which is a number that all of those denominators go into. And then half the first number would become 30 out of 60. The second number we had, which was 2/3, would be 40 out of 60. The third 2/5, well, 5 times 12 is 60, so 2 times 12 is 24 over 60. And finally, 3/4 of 60 is 45. So this would be 45 over 60. And if we arrange these again, we'd come up with the same sequence of ordering these fractions. 12. What is 15% of 300? 15% means 15 out of 100. Of in maths means multiply. So we're multiplying this by 300, which is the same as 300 over 1. Now we can immediately divide the top and the bottom here by 100, leaving 1 and 3. So 15 times 3 leaves us with 45. You'll notice it says 2 marks here. It's because it's not just a mark for the answer. We've also got a mark that we can get through the working out. 13. Use the information that 257 times 34 is 8,738 to find the value of 2.57 times 34. So you'll notice that the digits are all the same. We've got 25734, 25734. The difference is that this number has been divided by 100 from the original. So we need to do the same to our answer. If our original answer was 8738, then that also needs to be divided by 100. So we're starting with 8738.0. The decimal point is going to go 2 places because we're dividing by 100. So it's going to end up being 87.38, which is 100 times smaller than the original answer that we had. And it makes sense because if we round this and we say 2.57 rounded to the nearest whole number is 3, 34 to the nearest 10 is 30, then 3 times 30 is 90, so we're expecting an answer near 90. 87.38 does fit that. 13b, 8738 divided by 25.7. So the original was saying 8738 divided by 257 equals to 34, if we frame it that way. Now we're saying 8738 divided by 25.7 equals what? So if we're dividing by a smaller number, but the actual product is the same, this must get bigger. It's like saying you're dividing it into smaller pieces. The original thing is being divided into smaller pieces. You'll have more of those pieces. So instead of 34, we're going to multiply this by 10 and it will become 340. 340. So all we were doing here is multiplying the original numbers or dividing the original numbers by 10. So moving our decimal point or shifting along with the place value, not really doing any multiplication or long division whatsoever. That's why it said use the information that. So it was just about shifting with the place value. 14. Laura's family wins £54 in a raffle. They give £12 to charity and share the rest equally between the 5 family members. How much does each family member get? Well, they start off with £54. That's what the first line says. They give £12 to charity, which means £12 is deducted from the total. So we're taking off £12. That leaves us with a remaining total of £42. Now let's come on to the next bit. They share the rest, i.e. this £42, equally between the 5 members. How much does each family member get? Well, £42 is the same as saying 4,200 pennies. And we just need to divide this by 5 to see how much each person is going to get. So 5 times what makes 4? Well, 4 is too small. 5 times 8 is 40, extra 2. 5 times 4 is 20, and 5 goes 0 times into 0. So 840p means £8.40. £8.40. The charity spends 60% of the donation on buying equipment. How much of the donation is not spent? Well, if 60% is spent, that means 40% is not spent. And how much was actually donated to charity? £12 was given to charity. So the not spent section is 40%. So we are finding 40% of £12. 40 out of 100 of £12 multiplied by 12. Here we can immediately divide top and bottom by 20. So we get 2 here and 5 here. In other words, we're finding 2/5 of 12. 1/5 of 12 is £2.40 because I can times by 10 and divide by 2. So 2/5 must be £4.80. If I really wanted to show the full working out, I could say, well, 12 divided by 5. 5 times 2 is 10, and then I've got a remainder of 2, so 2.4 there, that's 1/5, and then times by 2 is giving us the 4.8, so £4.80. Final question for today. Chloe made a list of her homework marks, 4, 5, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 5. Write down the mode of her homework marks. Mode means most common or most frequent or most popular. So in other words, the one that comes up the most. 4 comes up 3 times, 5 comes up 4 times, which is the most. Then we've got 3, 2, 1. So 5 is the most commonly occurring number. Then the final question says work out her mean homework mark. The way we get the mean is we add up all the numbers and then divide by the number of numbers that we have. So we need to do 4 add 5, add 5, add 5, add 4, add 3, add 2, add 1, add 4, add 5, all divided by the number of numbers, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 4 add 5. So 5 3s are 15. 1 add 4 add 5 is 10. These add up to 9. And we've got the 4 here. So 15 add 10 is 25. 9 add 4 is 13. 25 add 13 is 38. 38 divided by 10 is 3.8. And that's it for today's paper. We have now completed the Epsom College specimen paper. If there are any specific papers that you'd like me to cover, please do let me know in the comments below. I'll try my best to cover them, and I shall see you next time.